Okay, restream. There we go. All right. Hello, everybody. We are live. Just getting started. This has been an interesting week by far, if anybody has seen my Substack and everything else. I actually have a guest this week. I know. Very rare. But with me today is Jeff Bishop. Jeff, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here, Taylor.
You're very welcome. Okay, there we go. I had two of me talking at the same time. That was just too much. Okay, yeah, Jeff, super happy to have you on today and happy for everybody in the chat. We've got a lot of chatters today. So, welcome everybody. If you're in chat, say hi. Tell me what you're excited about and, tell me, ask any questions. So, Jeff, it's been an interesting week, hasn't it, for both of us?
You could say that. I
Oh,
think we created a little bit of a monster of some kind or something.
a
Um,
little bit of a monster? That's
yeah,
a
you
little bit
sort of started
understatement.
this journey, and then
Yeah.
it's sort of, you know. And by the way, we're going to be releasing more later today too. So
Oh,
we'll
yes, we
talk.
are.
We'll talk about that later.
Yes,
Uh, uh,
and everybody, this whole stream will be put in blog form on my Substack later. So, if you guys are not following my Substack, taylorarndt.substack.com, you guys can follow it. Thank you for doing so, and thanks for the 25 new subscribers this week. So,
Yay!
I know, right?
Yeah.
So Jeff, do you want to? I probably should get this started, but yeah, do you want me to go ahead and start this off, or do you have
Yeah.
anything else you want to say?
Why don't you tell the, I mean, sort of catch everybody up on where you started, and then I'll pick up where you leave off, and then we'll talk about the, the GitHub repo,
We'll kind of go from there.
and then the domain, and oh my gosh, it's it's crazy. So not only are we supporting this financially, but we're supporting it through a lot of, work that we've tried to contribute to it as well. So it's very cool.
Yeah, let me go ahead and get started. So, last Friday, yes, it was Friday. Oh my gosh, I think it was about this time.
Feels like two
I
weeks
think
ago.
no, it felt like 2 weeks ago. Oh my gosh, because my mom's like, "How's your week?" And I was like, it's been crazy. Anyway, I was like, it's been nuts. So, Jeff, I think we were on a call, right, last Friday, and I don't know what I was working on, but I was super upset about something. Something just set me off, and I was like, I am so sick of inaccessible code. Claude made the last ARIA mistake or whatever. I was like, I am sick of this. Basically, just segmented the thing I needed to figure out, and it just made it worse. So I was like, I need to make some accessibility agents because, as you know, Claude and other LLMs love to generate inaccessible code, right? That's just their DNA. But I didn't like that. And so what I need to do is I needed to make some agents. Now, the reason I needed to do this is no, first of all, not to replace screen reader testing. Anybody who's watching
Absolutely
who
not.
thinks they want to make a comment, that's not valid. And Jeff
No.
agrees.
Yeah.
That's not the
One
point.
thousand and percent. Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
and by the way, let's just get this out on the table right now. Like, this is about learning, and looking to see what technology can do today. Is it going to get it right? Is it going to get it wrong? We don't know. But we're trying to give it as much tooling and as much information for it to digest and to learn from as possible. And this could be either a huge success, or it could be, you know, some learning that we need to go back and actually talk with teams about it and figure out, hey, why isn't this being effective? Or what have we not done to be able to be as effective? So it's really, you know, I think it goes without saying to say that we want this to be a community driven process.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have all the answers. I don't think Taylor has all the answers,
No, I
right?
don't.
And
No.
so we're here to try to just make a difference, and learn from all of the research that we're doing, but we may get it wrong. And that's okay, because that's where you in the community can pick up and help and help align what we are doing to make it better. And
Yes.
so it's all positive, right? It's we've gotten some interesting feedback on some email lists and other things from people, by the way, that I highly and deeply respect in in the community, and it's been very, very, very well thought out
Received.
comments.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so, what do we do with that? We try to learn from it, and we
We
try to
do.
adapt. And we're not going to get it right all the time, and that's okay. And AI is not going to get it right all the time
No.
either. So, it's all about everybody learning and how can we help shape the future of what we do as professionals or as developers or as product makers of any kind. How can we try to improve the world around us? And that's what this is all about.
And honestly, one of the reasons I made this is because all of those like accessibility mistakes, those, ARIA regions being in headings, that was the most common thing. That took up a lot of tokens, a lot of time to correct it over and over again. And yes, the agents aren't perfect, but you know what? I guarantee you, I've had like a 75% success rate. And even that number just makes me very happy. Like,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
love it.
we had an issue on the website where we had a bunch of color contrast issues, and we had some uh, ARIA landmarks all over the place because that's what AI loves to do, unless you tell it not to, and even then it still does it. So and of course we know these things, right? But we're trying to move fast and get information out, and both of us are blind, so the visuals may not be 100%, but we're getting there. And the cool thing about it was that there's a guy named Ty who by the way has just done amazing stuff in the community, and I highly respect the work that he continues to contribute in this space. Just
Absolutely.
amazing, amazing. I think he wrote the MVDA remote add-on and all
And the
kinds of cool
COVID
things.
stats thing, you
Yeah,
guys have
just
known
all
that.
yeah, all that stuff, right? Like, guy's amazing, amazing,
He
amazing.
he helped me with Swift before Michael came around.
Yeah, so very, very cool guy, right? Like, I just have nothing but the utmost respect for him. And he provided like lots of feedback, like, how can we trust this if it can't even, write your front page right? Well, okay, fair enough. And part of this is about orchestration, and we'll talk a lot about that, about how do we make sure that the agents are truly solving the problem that they're meant to solve. Um, Pierce talked about this on X quite a bit about, how do we make sure that the agents complete and that they actually make a difference? And that's critical. And I
It
think
is.
that's part of, providing deep research to the agents and making sure that that doesn't impact the context window, right? There's all kinds of factors that go into this, and we have to, become more scholarly about it. And this is why we are trying to learn and adapt as we continue to do the work that we're doing here. Um,
Yeah, and
yeah.
really, Jeff, I want to say that like on last Friday night, this literally started by me making a repo under my personal account, right? Y'all remember, it's a Taylor Art slash A1Y agent team, and that worked for a few days, but then we realized that that was not gonna go right, huh, Jeff? We were like, we made so many contributions, people were loving it, but it was just not community driven. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just sort of took off from there.
And Jeff, we have some chats real quick. Let me address those, and then we can keep talking. Um, so awesome. You're glad to be tuned in. That's really cool. Thank you for being here. As always, everybody, keep chatting it up. And then we have technically working. Hey, I know those voices. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Technically working. If you guys haven't checked out their podcast, you guys should check it out. Really cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, check it out. Demasi and Michael are phenomenal. And then Alex Chapman says, I love the community effort with these accessibility agents, and I just tuned into the stream.
Well, welcome here.
Welcome here. So, and again, everybody else, ask questions. Don't be afraid. Put them in chat. I'll answer them. And yeah, let's keep going. So, Jeff, can you tell me why you got involved in this project? Because before I was like, well, this is just going to be Taylor's project to solve a problem. But why did you decide to take interest?
Well, I work at the University of Arizona, and part of the work that I do is to work across teams. So I work with developers and designers and all that kind of fun stuff. And not only that, but I also need to be able to improve my toolkit as well, right? Like in other words,
Yeah.
how can I be more efficient in the work that I do? Especially on the visual front, right?
Yes.
Things like color contrast and making sure that things look visually appealing. I think this is where I really want to try to get agents to help with as much as possible, but that's very challenging, very, very hard.
It
Uh,
is. And if
so
you're low
I,
vision, contribute.
yeah, yeah,
We need that.
we need that for sure. I think for me it was about okay. We've been talking about injecting, um, AI-based technology into the development life cycle at work. So using Microsoft's or GitHub's accessibility scanner, you can find that on GitHub. There's a repo for it, and it's open source. And basically, it uses Axe Core to perform accessibility scanning, which, by the way, may or may not be accurate, right? We always have to have humans to verify and validate,
Yep.
right? That's hugely important. And so we started having these conversations about, okay, hey, we not only do we have to be very responsive to accessibility, but we need to be more proactive, especially with Title II, right? We got this big
Yes.
deadline coming up. So how do we make sure that the content that we're producing, whether it's web-based or a mobile app or a Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF document, whatever the content platform is, you, we need to make sure that it is as accessible as possible. And so, we I, Taylor sort of started with the six agents, and then I said, well, what about headings? And it just sort of took off.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, well, can't we do Word documents and Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoints and can't we actually pull in the rule set that the accessibility checker uses in Microsoft Office? And so I found those rules and injected that into the document agent. So now, prior to you working on this, I had worked on uh, this course that we're going to be doing next weekend called Get Going with GitHub. And one of the cool things that I was frustrated with about uh, just working in GitHub and in general was that, man, if I could just get an agent to give me information, right? So in accessibility agents, we have a GitHub hub, and that couldn't come up with a better name for it, but a GitHub hub team. Um, and it basically is a series of agents that handles things like, hey, go out and look at all my repos and give me a daily briefing that's actionable, right? In other words, so I know all the important information that's out there, things that I need to respond to, any new issues, any concerns. Um, I want to be able to respond to issues and pull requests. I want to be able to comment on code. And I even want to be able to respond and say, hey, by the way, on lines 42 to 48 of this PR, this pull request, I think you need to be thinking about these types of changes that you might want to consider, right? And do it through agentic flow rather than going to github.com, signing in, figuring out how you're going to highlight that range of lines, comment on it, right? All of these things. Instead, we ask an agent to assist us. And so that was started before Taylor's work on this. So as part of what we decided to do is we pulled in those GitHub agents into accessibility agents. and greatly expanded the reach. So then we did document uh, agents, and then we added more and more and more agents to the web accessibility team uh, agent. And we also did a lot of learning around things like, well, should we be using hooks or should we just rely on custom instructions? And what sort of problems does that represent? And we learned that, cross-platform, um, we kind of got, um, well, a little bit of a mess on our hands because of hooks.
Yeah.
So we pulled out all the hooks, and are strictly relying on custom instructions in Markdown. So anybody can contribute to this repo if you can write Markdown. And Markdown is so simple, you can open up VS Code, or your editor of choice and write Markdown. If you don't know Markdown, then highly advised to learn it. It's great. It's fun. It's very, very cool. Of course, very accessible. So, we even have a Markdown agent that
Yes,
not
we
only will
do.
go and detect issues in a Markdown document, but it will remediate them. Unlike the web accessibility agents, they don't remediate at the moment for the most part. They just report issues.
Yeah.
Not to say that they couldn't. The only issue there is, how do you push the code back, right?
Yeah,
How
that's
do you
the
get
only
it back up
issue.
on the internet? So I think what we're going to try to do is do something with GitHub pages where it could potentially push the content back. So we'll see. I don't know. We're exploring that. And then later this week, and today, tomorrow kind of stuff, we're working on this developer hub agent team that basically is going to provide accessibility guidance for languages like Python and WX Python. I think we're going to try to maybe, this is up to uh, Taylor because I know nothing about this, but injecting some Swift things into the developer hub
I
as
have a
much
whole
as
Swift
possible.
team, but
Yes,
yes, we will do
exactly,
that.
right? So
Yeah.
so it's about what are the problems to be solved? How can we make developers more aware of the things that they need to be focused on when they're writing code from an accessibility perspective? And how can we all learn to be better at our roles and whatever those roles are? So it's very fun. It's very exciting. Um, it's really interesting to see how this is evolving into something really special. And it's taken a bunch of people, to everyone from Michael Doise, who came up with some artwork, and the idea of getting the community-access .org domain,
That was really
and
cool.
branding that. And that was very, very cool. So Jeff just, went up and paid for the domain. Best 10
By
bucks
the
I
way, that's
spent in
in
a
the
while.
website. Check it out. There's
Yep,
even a
yep.
calendar on there, and there's a news article about how the agents helped me make the calendar. I think you guys will find that
Oh, that's
fascinating.
so great. That's so great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the agents work with Claude Code and Copilot and Codex and Gemini are experimental.
Yep, yep. And we have 6 different platforms that we support currently. And I mean, I think all of this is experimental at this point,
Yeah,
right? Right. I mean, trust me when I say that we are sure that there are problems. In fact,
we are.
in fact, I am highly confident that if there's one thing that you learn from this video today, it is that we're building something, and it's not bug free.
No.
But help us build it, right?
Yeah, help us.
Help us contribute, help us make it better, help us learn together. If we're obviously missing something crazy that we haven't thought about, then that's fine. Uh, then help us, determine what that path is. Because we can't do it without you, because we're trying to do something for the entire community, not just for ourselves.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, people, we've definitely gone through some interesting, like, oh, we got to switch the GitHub pages over. Jeff, do you want to talk about your workshop? Because you've been meaning to talk about that, but you haven't really alluded to that, your GitHub workshop. I think people are asking about it in the chat.
What about the GitHub? Sorry.
People want to know about it because about the community access and how we changed the GitHub pages for bits.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So this started as a BITS Blind Information Technology Solutions project. And it sort of cascaded into, something even much larger than that, that we wanted to make sure was open source, available, and community driven. Not that Bits isn't community driven, because it is, but we don't want to limit people from contributing who are not Bits members. So this Get Going with GitHub course originally started on the Bits repo, and inside the Bits organization GitHub account. And then we decided to move it over to a community access organization that was created. And then, of course, that broke the bits links. So we had to fix that. And that was
Yeah.
kind of fun to learn how to, you know, overcome that and use 302 redirects and, that kind of fun stuff. So, but that's now fixed. So any prior communication is now valid. And oh, which reminds me, I wonder if you go to the original, if hmm, that's interesting, Taylor. If you go to the original URL, the communityaccess.github.io/ whatever, um, does that still work too, as well as the domain, or does it, when you change to the
Um,
domain, does it break? I don't know. Because if it does, we have to fix it again. Um,
no,
see,
redirects.org.
it does.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, that's good. So we got two redirects going. Oh, that's good.
That's fun.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a little trippy. Um, so yeah. So again, a little bit of learning there of, how do we make the largest amount of impact? And we've gotten comments, and, people have submitted issues. In fact, there's one outstanding I have to go address, that I know of. There could be more. Um,
There's not any more. I'm sure Michael's gonna raise some issues later because he told me he
Yeah,
would,
yeah,
but
that's fine. That's great. There's one about Google Gemini CLI for Windows that we need to address, I think. So we'll have to figure out what that is and look at that. So yeah, I mean, it's again, we're moving fast. We're moving quickly. We're trying to do something that's innovative and fun, and it's all about trying to just truly make a difference for people, and that's why we're here.
so Jeff, a few more questions because I want to keep this going and try to get because we got a lot of people here and I love this. What do you imagine the future of this project holding? Like, what do you imagine in terms of community, like effort and like, scaling this? Because like right now we have 110 stars on GitHub. By the way, thank you everybody who started, and like 6 forks.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy, right?
but like, what do you imagine the future of this
Well,
being?
I don't
Like,
I don't know, because I don't know where AI is going, right? I don't think anybody knows where AI is going. I think what's happening is AI is learning, and the people that are creating the technology are also learning to how to be better at agentic work. And I think the goal here is to try to utilize as many platforms and technology stacks with this technology that we can, to be able to get it available in as many places as we can. I think that, and free, by the way, that people can contribute to, right? None of this should cost.
no.
Uh, if it costs, it's because you're subscribing to something, and that's on you. That's not on us. But the code and the tooling and all of that should come from the community. And then if you want to use GitHub Copilot or Google Gemini, or pick your platform of choice, Claude Code, Claude Desktop, right? All these different things, Perplexity, you know, all these different things. Well, that's fine, but we want the tooling itself to be free. Um, one of the things that we are doing is we're refactoring the Get Going with GitHub. In fact, it's pretty much now done. The GitHub curriculum centered around accessibility agents. And one of the key things that I have asked as part of that curriculum at the end of the 2-day course is, okay, we have accessibility agents. Let's now have a peer project somewhere that basically takes that and builds a desktop app so that it's even more user friendly to be able to remediate documents or websites or markdown documents or help assist in with developer teams, right? So it's all about putting the technology where as many people can get access to it, make it simple, you know, uh, really, really silly simple, so that everyone can use it without any sort of hindrance. And I think that's where the future it should be.
I got a couple questions from Mastodon real quick. I'll ask. How do you plan if this, let me start that over. Okay. Voiceover trying to speak over me. How do you plan if this project gets a massive scale and it takes a full-time effort to sustain it, even though you guys have full-time jobs? That's an interesting question.
Well, I mean, I come back to why we're here, and
Of course.
it's not for you and me to sustain, right? It should be the community that helps sustain it. If you look at things like Visual Studio Code, and other open source projects, NVDA is a perfect example of this. We wouldn't have, these tools and these technologies without community involvement. So it's not up to me and Taylor.
No, it's
Truly,
not.
truly not. We're involved, but so is everybody else. So it's not so much about how do we scale, it's about how does the community scale. The community will determine how important this project is or is not.
Another question is, do you plan to make this a nonprofit?
Mm, Uh, that's going to require money, and I don't have the money right now to invest in that. Um, I don't know who is
That
to
was just a
say?
question from
Yeah,
Mastodon.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We have other
Um,
questions in chat?
I don't know. We don't have any questions in chat. Somebody was asking
Okay.
about WX Python. I think we
Yeah,
already
what about
addressed that. So
yeah, WX Python, it's part of that's not committed yet, but it's coming. So stay tuned. Um, we're working on that. So yeah, it's good. Everyone should go to community-access.org and learn more. There's plenty of information there to grab and take advantage of. And be kind. The only thing we ask is if you find a bug, that's great. That's why you're helping. Be constructive in the feedback. And if it creates a problem for you, we're sorry. We're not charging for this. It's all free. And if there's any kind of bugs that may exist, we had one person run into an installation and an uninstallation issue, that we had to jump on top of. So we thank them for that. So again, it's all of us learning together, and I think that's what makes it special.
sure does. Do you have any other things you want to add before we close?
No, I think we've covered it a lot. I think the way that we're gathering feedback is through GitHub issues. So if you have a GitHub account, make sure you're signed in. Then use the feedback links on the website and submit an issue to us. We'll be very responsive to those. So it's so much fun.
Awesome. Well, I think that will do. Let me just check chat one more time, see if there's any questions. Otherwise, I think, just nice short stream will do. Of course, after this crazy week, that's kind of needed.
We'll get
Um,
back to coding. That's what we'll
yeah.
do.
But anything else? I'm just checking out with chat. But thank you all for watching. We've had a lot of chatters today, so
Yeah,
I don't think we have anything else, Jeff. But again, thank you so much for being here,
sure thing.
and I hope you have
Have a
a
good
wonderful
weekend,
day,
everybody. Yep.
everybody.
Bye bye now.